Today, we're going to talk about something that so many of us in the tech world have felt, the build trap. We're going to be drawing from a great article by Jot Jane, which itself is all about Melissa Perri's fantastic book on the topic. We'll break down exactly what this trap is, why it's so incredibly dangerous, and, most importantly, how we can all start to climb out of it.
So let me just start by asking you a question, and be honest with yourself. Think about your last big project. When it was all over, was the main measure of success, the big celebration, just about the fact that you shipped, that you got it out the door? If that feels a little too real, you are definitely in the right place. Because that's the #1 sign you might just be stuck in the build trap.
So, what is this thing really? Well, the build trap is what happens when a whole company gets obsessed with the activity of building stuff instead of the results of what they've built. It's when success gets measured by how busy everyone looks, how many features get pushed out the door, how fast the team's velocity is. But here's the thing. All that frantic activity, it gives you zero guarantee that you're actually making a difference for your customers or for the business. It's like running faster and faster on a hamster wheel.
And the symptoms, they are probably painfully familiar to a lot of us. You've got these backlogs that are just enormous. They're total monsters. The roadmap isn't being guided by a clear strategy. It's being dictated by whichever stakeholder is the loudest that week. And what's the end result of all this? You ship products that, they might look shiny, but they don't solve a real person's problem. And over time, that's how you lose ground to the competition.
Okay, this slide right here, this is the whole ballgame. It lays out the core battle we're talking about. Over on the left, you've got outputs. That's the trap. It's all the metrics of just being busy. But on the right, you have outcomes. That's the goal. These are the things that actually matter. The whole point of escaping the build trap is to drag your team, your company, your entire mindset from that left column over to the right one. It's about stopping the question, what did we do? And starting to ask, what did we change?
So how do we actually do that? How do we make that shift? Well, we've got a 5-part escape plan. First, we have to completely redefine what progress even looks like. Second, we'll see that real strategy is all about saying no. Third, we're going to rethink what a product manager's job really is. Fourth, we'll talk about how to truly empower our teams. And finally, we'll accept that this whole thing, it's a journey.
All right, let's jump into our first big idea. Progress isn't just shipping. This is really the bedrock, the foundational mindset shift you absolutely have to make. You have to understand that just because you're busy, just because you're building, that doesn't mean you're actually moving forward.
So here's the acid test. Before you even think about starting a new project, you have to be able to answer this question. What specific customer behavior or business metric are we trying to change here? If your only answer is, well, to ship the feature, that's a massive red flag. Real progress means you define what success looks like first, and then you build something to see if you can actually move the needle.
Okay, on to our second principle, which is so important. Strategy is saying no. You've got to realize that in this game, focus is your superpower. A real strategy isn't a long list of all the things you could do. It's a very short list of the few things you will do.
Just changing this one question can completely alter your company's path. When you ask, what should we build next? You just get a laundry list of features. It's a backlog filler. But when you ask, which outcome are we trying to influence? You're forced to have a strategic conversation. You have to prioritize based on what's going to have the biggest impact, not just who has the coolest idea.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. A great product strategy works like a filter. It says, this is the problem we are going to solve for this group of people. And just as importantly, it says, and we are actively choosing not to work on all that other stuff right now. Honestly, saying no to a perfectly good idea is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most valuable.
And that brings us to point number 3, which is all about the person who often has to do all that saying no, the product manager. See, to escape this trap, the PM can't just be a delivery coordinator. Their job has to be elevated. They have to own the results.
I mean, just look at this contrast. On the left, you've got the PM who's stuck in the trap. They're a backlog groomer, a delivery coordinator, basically a feature translator. But on the right, you have a true product-led PM. This person is obsessed with finding the right problem to solve. They explore tons of options, and at the end of the day, they are on the hook for the outcome, not just for shipping the output.
This is the key. This is the sentence to write down. A roadmap, that's just a tool. It's a plan, it's an artifact, it's a series of educated guesses. It is not the goal. The goal is the result, the impact on the business, the change in how happy your customers are,
The product manager's job is to own that result, and the roadmap is just one of many things they might use to get there.
But this change can't all land on the product manager's shoulders. It really does take a village. And it requires a completely different way of leading, which is our fourth point. You've got to give your teams context, not just tasks. It's about making everyone on the team feel like an owner.
So, instead of just handing your team a spec doc and a list of features, great leaders give them the right ingredients. They explain the goal. What's the mission we're on? They clarify the constraints. What's our budget, our timeline, what are the guardrails? And, critically, they communicate the why. What is the deep customer pain we're trying to solve here? Because when a team has that rich context, they can unleash their collective brainpower to figure out the best how.
And that brings us to our fifth and final point, and it might just be the most important one to remember. Escaping this trap is a journey. It is not a quick fix. You can't just flip a switch and be outcome-driven. It's a slow cultural change that happens one small, deliberate step at a time. It's more like turning a giant cargo ship than a speedboat.
So you're probably thinking, okay, great, but where do I even start? Here are 3 super practical, powerful things you can do tomorrow. First, open up your roadmap and just try rewriting the feature names as the outcomes you want to achieve. Second, for every single thing your team is working on, make sure it's tied to a measurable goal. And third, just start asking this question in every single meeting. Wait, what problem are we actually solving here?
And remember, this is a deep, systemic change we're talking about. It means looking at how people are rewarded. It means you might have to start celebrating a failed experiment that gave you great learning just as much as a successful launch. It means you have to patiently, kindly retrain your stakeholders to stop asking when is it going to be done and start asking what are we hoping to learn.
So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to take with you. Don't worry about trying to change the whole company overnight. Just think about your team. What is the one single most important outcome you could focus on right now? Pick that one thing, define it really clearly, and start taking that first small step out of the build trap and toward delivering value that truly matters.